I'm Dan Drake. This is Front Up on Channel 99 and Visitor Network TV. With us today we have DJ McKinnon, the president of Atlantic Development, who has gained some renown on the island for some of the activities that real estate activities that he's proposing. And I would like to spend some time talking with you about it, DJ, and thank you for coming and welcome.
Okay, well, thank you very much for having me. I appreciate that.
There are two aspects to what you're proposing to do. One of them is the Surfside Commons development on Surfside Road, which is an rental apartment complex.
Rental community. Yes.
Under 40B.
Correct.
Which is the state law that sort of trumps local zoning and so forth when a community doesn't have the necessary number of supposedly affordable units. I don't really know how 40B works on an apartment. I know how it works on owner-occupied houses, but I don't know how it works on apartments in terms. So maybe you could explain that a little bit.
Okay. Well, really, where 40B starts is on the need side. It's not necessarily something that is done in every community, because communities that actually have more than 10% affordable housing based on the way the state calculates it, you can't use 40B in those instances. So, Nantucket's at about 2.5% affordable housing, so that makes 40B available. We got involved in it really because of the report that the town did. So the town released a report this spring called the Workforce Housing Needs Assessment. Had a number of recommendations.
Now, we've talked about that actually on the show before. So
key things were when 90% of the people on this island that are here year round cannot afford to purchase a home. The rental model becomes very, very important. The reality is probably through the next generation, unless there's some other major change, rental communities are going to be needed to serve the people that live on the island. In addition to that, we have a circumstance where Nantucket's done a wonderful job preserving the island, but at this point in time, 2/3 of it is preserved or can't be built on, which means
that's a little high, but it's close.
Well, when you take some of the environmental restrictions, you get there pretty quickly. So now what happens is basically people can live on 1/3, and then the other dynamic that's occurred is over the years, going back a ways, it was about a 50-50 split between seasonal people and year-round people, but when homes become available, only 10% of the people can afford to buy, which means, kind of the more wealthy seasonal people are the ones that tend to buy. So now we're at the point where only 1/3 of the homes on the island are owned by year-round people. So basically the year-round people have 1/3 of 1/3, and that number is dwindling, which really brings forward the need for rental communities. The specific recommendation of the report was actually to use Chapter 40B to create rental communities. So we're really using the town's workforce housing needs assessment as our blueprint to move forward with this proposal. On the rental side, your question was, how does 40B work? So the way it works on the rental side is there's a couple of different models, but the model we've picked for this one is to do 75% market rate rentals and 25% moderate rate. There are other formulas that have low income, Section 8. We're not doing that. So ours is 25% moderate rate, 75% market rate. So with that, and we've got it all detailed in the brochure I'll leave you with, the moderate rate units, people that want to live in those have to have incomes between $55,000 and $80,000 a year. And that's reportable income. It actually gets certified every year. There'll be a separate monitoring agent, not us, that does that. So if you look at the people that would be looking for that type of availability, it's going to be nurses, teachers. We've actually heard from quite a number of them ourselves that would rent those apartments. The other apartments we're targeting, we have it in here, rental rates from between $2,000 a month to $3,300 a month. And these are year-round rentals, so people are not going to have to rent seasonally and then do the Nantucket shuffle. So for the market rate units, it's $2,000 to $3,300. The other aspect of 40B, which is important, is we as a developer have a limited profit that we're allowed to achieve. Because of that, what it does is it discourages a significant run-up in even the market rate rental units. So going through the workforce housing needs assessment, they make it clear people that are looking for kind of the moderate rate affordable units, but there's also a significant number of people that are looking for rentals in the more market rate range also. But once they're available, they don't want a situation where those go up. So as an example, under the state formula, we're allowed to achieve a 10% return on our equity. So without getting into too much detail, I'll give you the very quick numbers. So this is about a $15 million development. We'll put 20% in, $3 million in cash, and have $12 million in debt. We're allowed to earn 10% on the $3 million cash investment. Now what happens is, if we go above the 10%, all of the money above 10% goes to the town for affordable housing. So a circumstance, so we don't have an incentive to get a 12 or 15% profit because we don't get any of it. Now at the same time, what could happen on Nantucket, and I think it is potentially worth looking at, if we fill the market rate units, which we're confident we will, and then assume we have a long waiting list, the housing advocates on the island may say, you know what, you've got a long waiting list for the market rate units. Let's go up to a 12% profit margin because you keep 10, and we'd like that other 2% to invest in other affordable housing on the island. So that's kind of the short story.
Does the town have the authority to determine that?
Well, the state requires it. We're audited every single year.
No, but I mean, if you go up to the 12%?
Well, that would be a discussion with the town. If the town, they can't impose it, but we can have a dialogue with them. And if the town says, you know what, you've got a really long waiting list for the market rate units, we don't want you to jump them to a 20% return and make it. But you know what, if there's enough demand, maybe you do push it a little above the 10% because they could take that money and use it for affordable housing. It has to be exclusive to affordable housing, but somewhere else. So, you know, I know in many circumstances, things on the island here, if somebody has a service or a business or a piece of property and they can just keep jacking up the price, that'll occur. Well, we don't have that incentive. We can't do it. We're audited every single year. So we feel we can not only help serve the need for the moderate rate affordable units, there's a big need for people that, you know, just can't purchase homes, but want a nice rental community that they can afford to live in.
Under the 40B rules, if an apartment goes at a market rate for $2,000, what would it go for under the
under the affordable?
Under the affordable.
Okay, so the affordable, roughly, you know, probably between like 11 to 1,700, depends on the size of the unit as well as the number of occupants.
And the income?
Well, the income has to be between the 55 and 80,000. So if they're between 55 and 80,000, they qualify.
But that doesn't impact the rent. If they're at 55 on the low end or 80 on the high end, that doesn't make a difference as to what their rent is, just that it's lower.
Correct. Yep. So, and you know, to date it's been encouraging because, as we mentioned, you know, we're starting to work with the community. We start with a proposal. You know, we're confident that our final plan will probably be something different than this proposal, and we want to hear from everybody. So we have had a lot of folks in the neighborhood that we've spoken with. I've spoken with our direct abutters. I've talked to a lot of people. We're also hearing a lot from people in need. We have a website and a social media campaign. We've had over 500 people that have liked this project through a social media campaign. Once they do that, we reach out to them and ask them if they want to have a conversation. These are people in need, and I follow up with those people. And the stories that, you know, we see in the paper, you know, which you've probably seen, the hungry and homeless. You know, this is about a teacher that works in the public school system that lives in her van. We're hearing from these people. You know, this is a very important, you know, development for them. You know, people that are, you know, building the small houses and moving them around the island because they have no other choice. So the commuters that are going back and forth. So, you know, we feel we can really help address this need in an important way. And, you know, looking forward to working with everybody, including our neighbors.